Amanda. I'm a senior at Drexel studying health sciences, and I'll be going back to New York next year to start medical school. So this is the story of how I found that God's peace truly did surpass all understanding. I've always considered my childhood to be fairly ordinary. I grew up in the church with a family who showed unconditional love, neighbors who treated me like their own, and friends who lived life with me for as long as I could remember. I figured that if I believed in God, went to church, prayed, and tried to be the best that I could be, then God would be pleased. Upon entering high school, a seed of idolatry unknowingly deepened in my heart. Seemingly lighthearted comments began to go around home and school, but there was an unsaid academic competition between one of my close friends and me. I never asked her about it because I didn't want it to be true. So instead, I let it fester in me without anyone knowing. I didn't care so much about the outcome. However, what I feared most was the disappointment I'd be to those I cared most about. I wanted to honor those who have always supported me. What if I wasn't good enough? Anxiety began to consume me, and anytime I didn't meet my expectations, I'd think about all the ways I'd have to break the disappointing news and the guilt of letting my loved ones down. Sometimes I'd ask God for help and peace, but often felt like he was busy answering the more important prayers of the world. When I eventually lost that so-called competition, I saw that I was loved no less or thought of any differently. However, I still felt that I needed to redeem myself through a secured future career. Moving into Philly, both my mother and my sister recommended I try out GCC. I told them I'd check it out if I had time. At this point, I was ready for a new start and focused on my academics. No more comparison, competition, or high expectations to meet. Just do well enough to stay in my program, and my future was set. When my mom handed me the famous GCC water bottle flyer, I noticed that they just so conveniently met in front of my dorm to walk over to service. So I figured I'd check it out. Through God's intention, grace, and GCC's warm and slightly overwhelming community, I kept coming out to events. After Passion, I realized that I didn't have a distant God who occasionally answered my prayers, but rather a very near and intimate Heavenly Father who walks with me each and every day and is intentional in his plans. He began to break down my idols. No longer was I defining myself by my successes, failures, and the comments of others, but rather I was identifying myself as his precious child. The best way I could honor God and my loved ones was to faithfully serve him and to show others his love and grace. During sophomore year, my faith was challenged by lost friendships, loneliness, and bitterness. It was hard to see God's goodness when all I saw was darkness. I thought to myself, this is the most diligent and intimate I've ever been in my faith, and yet why am I the unhappiest and most bitter I've ever been? However, through prayer, the word, and learning to be vulnerable with others, my faith slowly became more God-centered and less me-centered. While life is tough and I still occasionally find myself seeking my old idols, I have a newfound confidence that the Lord is actively working in my life and that he will never forget or forsake me. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Psalm 23:4. Thank you.